great to be here. I should say that as an ex-ambassador, I'm a recovering ambassador. I'm an ex-excellency. And what I want to try to touch on today is the story of why that has led me to be with you at this conference and has led me into this project working on education. But first I want to kind of zoom out a little bit and tell you something about what I've learned about power in 20 years as a diplomat. I've learned three things. The first one, and you all know this in the room already, power is shifting faster than at any other time in history. There is a fantastic study that's been done that predicts that the next century will see the same amount of change as the last 43 centuries. And that is like going, imagine this is like going from the cave painting to the atom bomb in the lifetime of my 4-year-old, because I do believe that he'll live to at least 104. So time is speeding up, and that is having a huge impact on the way that power is leveraged. Now, there is good news and bad news. The good news is that the pace of this change, the pace of this speed, is going to make our world a better place. My 4-year-old is 200 times less likely to die violently than my grandfather. But this change is also going to wreak havoc to the old structures with which we've become familiar. It is going to put many states out of business. It is going to put many businesses out of business. It is going to put many ideas out of business. And so the third thing I'd say about power is that my world, the world I understand, the world of maps and chaps, the world of hierarchies and structures, is falling apart rapidly. And we're moving, as we all know, to this world of networks. To draw on my most recent experience in Lebanon, it's like moving from a British banquet where everyone knows who the host is, there's a clear menu, we all know where we sit, to a Lebanese meal, which is anarchy. We don't know who's in charge, there is food everywhere, and we're all piling in. The Lebanese meal is much more fun, by the way. So we are all being disrupted. And if you're not at this stage imagining the disruption of your business, then prepare to be disrupted. So the good news, as we look at this enormous shift of power, the good news is that you guys are part of the answer. And when I say you, I speak very humbly as a complete non-expert on education. I know probably less than anyone in this room about education. I'm the only person in my family who didn't go into education. I was the black sheep. I went into diplomacy. So you're part of the answer for two reasons. Because you're going to find a way to ensure that the smartest people on the planet can fix the problems that will be associated with this enormous amount of change. But you're also going to have to find the solutions that ensure that the poorest and most marginalized people on the planet don't feel left behind and don't find that the aspiration gap grows so large that they want to destroy what they see around them. That's the good news. The bad news, I'm afraid, is that we, all of us, we're failing pretty badly. And we heard compellingly and powerfully from Her Royal Highness this morning why that is. We are not getting the education in terms of quantity or quality that we need to 59 million kids who are now out of school. And so there is a real danger that these kids who are going to be running the world in 50 years are going to look back on what we did on our watch in the way that we look back on slavery and ask us, how the hell did you screw this up so badly? So why are we screwing it up? Now, I'm from within a structure, within the institution, so I will give a generous interpretation. I think we're screwing it up because we have subcontracted this job, the biggest job we have in front of us, to people who cannot deliver. Now, these are mainly people, and they're people like me, who are well-meaning, who want to spend our time making the world a better place, but for whom there is a limit on what we can do. I came out of government. I used to work at the centre of government. I worked for 3 prime ministers as the foreign policy advisor in Downing Street in Britain. And I discovered the limits of what governments can do. And that's before you add in this enormous change ahead of us, the way that time is speeding up, the way that governments are becoming dependent on just surviving the next media cycle. And so at a time when you need more than ever global strategy, we in government, we cannot any longer provide a strategy that is global. We can barely provide a strategy which is national. Trust me, I've been there. We're also subcontracting this enormous problem to international organizations. Again, stacked with brilliant people. But almost every international organization that was created after the Second World War finds itself now in a crisis of legitimacy and a crisis of resourcing. And any of you working with these organizations on the ground know what that means. It means they are struggling to deliver. They are competing for resources against each other. And so they are not going to be the answer to getting 59 million kids into school. They are part of the answer, but not the answer. And the third group of people we've subcontracted this problem to are NGOs. Again, stacked with the most brilliant people, well-meaning people out there. But much of the NGO sector is stuck in 2005. I think the high point of recent humanitarian action and campaigning action when they came together around the Make Poverty History campaign, around the debt relief campaign, and for the first time brought together citizen campaigns and governments to make change. But things haven't really moved on from there. We've given the MDGs a different name. We've changed one letter. But we are still stuck in a 2005 mindset of just trying to get governments to do more, when actually the world has moved on. So what then can we do? And I speak here as the non-expert in the room. I think we can do 3 things. Firstly, we have to make humanitarian education delivery more citizen-focused. You look at the direction of companies like Uber, the on-demand economy, and it is all about individual rights and individual delivery. And yet, as humanitarian organizations, we ask individuals to stay out of the way. You know, even if you're running a soup kitchen in my hometown, what you don't want is the individual who just donates some soup. You want the individual who donates money so you can organize and work together so you can buy the soup. So we tend to frighten away people who say, you know what, how can I help? And yet now we have the technological means to matchmake those individuals to this huge problem we have to crack. And so what I want to see is a more human approach to development that brings in those people. We talk to governments about donating 0.7%. We should be talking to individuals about donating 0.7% of their time, a day a year, to this campaign. And we should be convincing people that this is the great civil rights movement of our age, and that if they're not involved, then they're on the wrong side of history. So firstly, more citizen. Secondly, and you all know this better than I do, we must be more digital, much more digital. We have this smartphone superpower, all of us in our pocket. And we can use that just to circulate pictures of cute cats and to find a date, or we can use it to crack the world's problems. We must get educational resource online and free as quickly as possible. We must do to educational content what Spotify did to the jukebox. We must do to educational availability what Uber are doing to taxis. And we must do to educational connections around the world what Facebook did to pen letters. And the third area, I believe, which is the agenda of the future of education, is that we must also become more private. I don't just mean that we should make more money out of education, though actually that is not the problem that we're dealing with. What I mean is we need to bring in the private sector to help fill the gap in this huge challenge ahead of us. Even if we get all the money from governments, which we're asking for, even if NGOs double the campaign success that they have, we will still be well short of getting the 59 million kids into school. And so we need to go to the private sector and ask them for a new form, a new partnership, a new alliance that is not about corporate social responsibility. When I say corporate social responsibility, if I say responsibility to my child, to my 4-year-old, he immediately feels lectured. And it's the same with the private sector. We talk about CSR, and they feel lectured. They feel they're being asked to donate. When actually what we need, as we just heard, is not a donation, but an investment in education. So we have to go to the private sector and say, actually, we're not just asking for your money. We're not just asking you to be responsible citizens. We're asking you to help crack this problem. We need your networks. We need your ingenuity. We need your creativity. And let me just conclude by zooming back in again to why I'm here and the issue where this change of power meets this new way of doing business. And that is, as Tony mentioned, the effort to get 1 million Syrian kids into school. Imagine those 1 million Syrian kids. Now, I could put a photo of one of them up on the slide here to try and move your hearts, but I want to actually move your heads on this. These are 1 million Syrian kids who are going to otherwise be radicalized, marginalized. They're kids. Imagine 1 million kids trying to cross the Mediterranean Ocean. Imagine 1 million kids strapping suicide vests to themselves. These are kids that we don't just have a moral duty to help, but that we have a security and a business case for helping. And so when I think of those 1 million kids, I don't feel a sense of diplomatic concern. I feel anger and impatience. And I speak as someone who spent 4 years trying to end the Syrian conflict and failing. This is why I'm here, because we failed over those 4 years to do what was right for those Syrian kids. And I want to be part of the effort to do what is right for them. We are trying to raise now $500 million. We will raise a lot of that from governments, I'm confident, but we will make up the shortfall. We must make up the shortfall from the private sector. Not just donations, but in the value that the private sector can bring to cracking that issue. There is a vacancy in this effort. There is a gap. On the health side of the SDGs, you have leaders, campaigners, talismanic individuals who are able to generate and convene the effort needed. We don't have that on education. We do not have the education Bill Gates. And so there is a vacancy, and I ask you to think, maybe the education Bill Gates is sat in this room. If it's you, please do not wait to be asked. But if you're not Bill Gates, but you can see a way that your company or your foundation can be involved in this effort, then again, please do not wait to be asked. I have this idea of a school in Turkey for Syrian refugees, which is built by IKEA for free, to which the students travel on buses provided for free by Uber, which is connected by Facebook, which is equipped by Microsoft with educational content from Pearson. There is no reason why we can't do all of that. There is no reason why we have to let down these 1 million Syrian kids. So if you can help with that, please come and find me later on. Thank you.